The only show.
Oh, the only show that matters. To me, yes.
Well, I mean, you know what other show also matters?
The
The Semi-Bookish podcast!
Semi-Bookish podcast!
Yay!
All right, yeah.
Everybody's favorite podcast.
Sure.
Sure.
We'll go with that.
Okay. It's very heavily like this.
A global favorite.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, welcome to the Semi-Bookish podcast, Adrian District Library's podcast. We are here today, and yeah. So Tony's yawning. So Grant, we're gonna throw it at you. What are you reading, watching, playing, writing? Words.
Boy.
What are you doing? What have you done this week?
What have I done this week?
What have you done?
It's only Monday, so let's see.
well,
I had breakfast.
Only Tuesday, actually.
Okay. Well, see, that's how this week is going. I don't even know what day it is. So
Yeah, I can tell.
yes, it's one of those weeks already. Yeah. So as far as reading materials, I'm not reading anything specific at the moment. I'm kind of reading around per se.
Sure. Yeah.
Shopping for.
I'm shopping. Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
I have a big old compendium of film theory that I've been diving into.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so I've just been jumping around in that, but
Nice.
I haven't committed to a single book
Sure.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, I have been. Yeah, I haven't been playing anything either. I'm boring.
Oh, interesting.
I'm boring
Grant
lately.
is just being boring.
Let's see what I've
I was
watched.
gonna say, have you seen
Yes,
anything recently?
yes, I
'Cause
should.
that's been the.
That's the theme.
It is the theme. It's a leitmotif.
Oh my goodness! I have suddenly developed the hiccups, which is gonna make this very uncomfortable.
Oh no.
Hold your breath for a bit.
Yeah, and I have to go grab some water. Which
You could go do that if you wanted to. You have time.
I have time. That's true.
Yes. Okay. So I've seen 3 movies lately.
Yeah.
First, I went to Ypsilanti to see because MJR is lame and
Ypsilanti.
MJR is lame and doesn't get anything cool. Sorry MJR.
No, it's
Not
true.
Sorry.
You're not wrong.
We're a college town. I don't know why we don't get
The fun
our
movies?
stuff, the fun movies.
Well,
But whatever.
who knows?
It's their loss.
Do you remember when they used to actually put, the movies they were showing on the side of the building, and now they don't do that anymore?
I know they've decreased that. I don't understand.
And oh my god.
MJR, get with it.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Come on.
on.
MJR, come on.
Bring the fun back.
But
Make me want to come do the class in the
you
theater.
went to Ypsilanti to
I went to Ypsilanti to see
Ypsilanti.
Kinds of Kindness.
Oh, yeah.
Which was probably my number 1 most anticipated movie of the year. Maybe not including Dune Part 2.
Right.
And honestly, it's right up there with Dune Part 2 as my favorite of the year.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, for those who do not know,
Yeah.
this is the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie. He made Poor Things last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he started filming this immediately after he wrapped filming on Poor Things.
Sure.
It's an anthology film, so it's 3 self-contained stories they're more thematically connected than anything. Same actors and everything playing different characters.
Sure.
So we got Jesse Plemons, you have Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, other people of note whom I can't remember at the moment.
Sure.
Yes, it is a very cryptic movie in that I'm definitely going to have to watch it again. As I was watching it, it's a very chaotic movie. So a lot of the time I was just trying to grasp what I'm witnessing.
Sure.
So there are some obvious connective tissues. Obviously, with the title "Kinds of Kindness," it's dealing with interpersonal relationships and kinds of kindness. And the different ways it can be used. You see some genuine kindness between characters in different situations. You see people using kindness to manipulate people. Generally, it has a very pessimistic view on humanity in general and human nature.
Interesting.
And I won't spoil it, but it does continue his Lanthimos's kind of motif of comparing humans with animals.
Sure. Okay.
I won't spoil how that comes into the plot because it is. I just don't want to spoil it.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's almost David Lynchian in the way that dreams play an important role in this.
Okay, sure.
In a way that it hasn't for any other Lanthimos movie. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
As well. No, I absolutely loved it. I had a blast watching it. It was funny.
Yeah.
It's probably his funniest movie as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, great movie. Definitely recommend it if you have a chance. I watched Lincoln, which was aight.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Ite as in good ite or ite
It's
as
good.
in mid?
It's good. I know it's partially based on Team of Rivals, I think.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
and-
That's that big nonfiction book, right? It was
There may have also been a stage play that it took inspiration from as well. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But similar to Kinds of Kindness, the performances, you're not going to find any fault really with the performances.
Daniel Day-Lewis plays
Yeah,
Abraham Lincoln.
everybody stands up. You know, they accept the challenge.
Sure.
Other than Daniel Day-Lewis, I'd say Tommy Lee Jones. It was a clear standout for me. He's like a radical abolitionist character.
He would be, yeah.
Yeah, and he's great in it. He's a very boisterous character until Lincoln gets to him and like, we have to pass this bill. So he kind of gets him to compromise a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the thrust of the whole movie. He's trying to get the amendment passed.
Yeah.
And all the little behind the scenes quasi-legal stuff that he had to do to get it passed.
Well, of course.
Well,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As we are seeing and experiencing now.
Yes. Yeah. Nothing crazy is going on in the world right now. It's very stable at the moment. Yes.
Sure. Said no one in history ever.
Yes.
Except liars. Anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing like wrong with the movie.
Yeah.
It's just there's no like great X factor outside of the performances for me. It's has a very similar feeling to another Spielberg movie, Amistad, if you've seen that, where it's a court case and the stuff around it.
Well, that makes me very glad that I skipped Lincoln when everyone was talking about it, because Amistad is one of my least favorite Spielberg movies.
Yeah, it's not a top tier.
And it is actually it's one of my least favorite movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very schmarmy.
It is schmarmy.
It's like, look, this is how slavery worked out, and look at that white guy just tearing up the courtroom, and it's like, this is gross.
True, and there's a little bit of that in this.
And then it has that like Whitney Houston song, I think, right? Is a part of that,
Which
I think,
one?
or maybe that came out later.
What? Wait. Which
I can't
one?
remember. I thought Amistad. I thought there was a Whitney Houston song that.
It's possible.
It wasn't just her.
Wait.
It was a whole group of people. It was a big R&B. All the pop stars get together to sing about,
there's
changing the world.
There's something about 90s big budget historical movies.
No, wait, what movie was it?
Amistad. Yeah.
There's something about the late 1990s, early 2000s, huge historical epics and out of place.
My Love Is Your Love.
I knew it!
My Love Is Your Love.
That is the one! Yes!
Okay.
Yes! Okay, thank you.
This is why I ask these questions, because I will go look it up.
It is. Yeah, that's true. You have this random,
Yeah. I was thinking of Gangs of New York in particular that has it.
Oh, see, I've not seen that one yet. But yeah, no, although, interesting fun fact about Gangs of New York, Leonardo DiCaprio turned down the role of Anakin Skywalker in episode 1 so that he could be in Gangs of New York.
Probably in the long term, the correct choice.
Maybe.
Seeing how what's his face was treated afterwards.
I feel like it would have shifted the movie quite a bit to have, not just a competent actor, but someone who's a little bit older.
True. Well, that's just another problem with the prequels where they should have started later, but that's a whole.
Yeah, right. So I would have been interested to see that version, like, teenager Anakin would have been interesting. It would have been just a different direction, but when Leo says no, you just
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So, Lincoln, fine. Watch it if you want.
I probably won't.
Exactly.
But also because I can't forgive Steven Spielberg fans, not Steven Spielberg fans, moviegoers for all of the hate that Munich got for no reason.
Oh yeah,
whatsoever.
Munich's great.
It's great. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm convinced that most people never even watched it. They just rode a hate train.
I'm sure, because
isn't that how it usually goes?
It came out in a contentious time, and people were...
Yeah.
I'm sure people read into it what they wanted to read into it.
Sure, yeah. And it's not heartwarming.
No.
In any way, shape, or
it doesn't... Spielberg's either like Saving Private Ryan showing everything or he's schmaltz.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah, right.
But-
Yeah, and even Saving Private Ryan has a tinge of like,
Yeah,
you
like-
know, like, yeah, sure, they all died, but isn't it great that they can grieve together in the field of crosses? Like, you know, where the movie starts and where it ends, you're just kind of like,
Exactly. Like even with Schindler's List, he tries to fit in a redemption. It's like, no, it's a horrible...
Yeah.
There should be a horrible emptiness at the end.
yes, and that's one of the reasons that I very much enjoyed Munich, because he doesn't Spielberg the movie. Like,
Yeah.
he lets that deep discomfort rest, especially in that final, like, conversation. It's painful. It's wonderful because that's kind of that's the point of the movie, is that you don't really know how things came together.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, the like credits, you know, all historical pictures have these. In fact, all historical novels tend to have these too, where they tell you like, these events are based on blah blah blah, and this is what happened to this person, and this is what happened to that person, and it straight up admits like, we have no idea how the bombing actually occurred. Mm-hmm. It has baffled many people, and it was just like, but it was saying like, this is one version that might have happened, and I thought, wait, but how could it not have happened this way? And that let me know, like, oh, this really was a convincing movie, because it feels to me like this is exactly how it would have happened, but we don't really know. So, anyway, enough of me going on and on about my...
And no, it was very interesting. And I'm already over time, so my last thing I'll talk about will be Longlegs, that new horror film.
Yeah!
It's been hyped up to
The
high heaven.
A24 one.
It has,
Right,
what do you
okay.
think?
I was very disappointed with it.
Sure.
I'm like genuinely befuddled as to how it has gotten the unanimous acclaim it's gotten.
Oof.
Like, it's been called this decade's Silence of the Lambs or whatever. That's not a...
That's a bold
So they're
claim.
lying to us.
Yes, they are lying to us.
Grant says don't go watch it. Don't waste your money.
I went in with high hopes and everything.
Sure.
It's just so scattershot. It's so lightly sketched. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It's like a first draft of a movie.
It very much feels like a first draft. And
I feel like it could have done some like...
Yes, and I know the writer-director is I don't want to throw allegations of like Nepo babies, but I know he is the son of some bigger person.
There's a reason J.J. Abrams still makes movies, and it's not because they're good.
Yes. And so it didn't know what it was trying to be. It's amateurish at points. Visually, it's fine. It's
Sure.
interesting. Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, so if you like Nicolas Cage, go watch it for the Nicolas Cage.
I mean,
but
sure,
It's
It's Nicolas Cage.
it's nowhere near as good or impactful as people are saying it is. So.
It's just new.
Yeah. It's new.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hello.
Hello.
Reading, not much.
Oh, wow, we're all in that. Okay. all right.
That not like physical books. Right now, I was just going through BookBub and Kindle on sale stuff because I could.
Sure.
So I'm going through that at the moment. However, it made me laugh for 0.2 seconds because The Book of Longing by Susan Monk Kidd was on sale.
Cake. Yeah.
And it made me laugh because it reminded me at the time that I read it, and then I went, wow, this is really just self-insert I'm Jesus' wife fan fiction. So there's that.
How many churchgoers do you think fantasize about Jesus during the? Anyways, wrong. Maybe this is the wrong. Wrong
You
episode
know,
for that, okay.
honestly,
Let's not talk about TikTok and all the fandom girlies and all
That
the stuff
could
that they ship.
be really funny to
I've
do
seen-
a poll to see.
I've seen
you know.
way too much. You do not want to know. I cannot talk about it on this podcast.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Not in a family-friendly way. If we want to do that, we have to make a completely
I mean, the Book of
separate
Longings
podcast.
is on my, must-read this
It's not bad.
list,
Don't
so.
get me wrong. It's not bad.
Right.
But like you can just really read it, and you're going, yeah. This lady is just here, and she adds really not much to the plot because it's following.
Oh, that's not
Her?
fun.
One of the side characters is infinitely more interesting, like the story that you only see little snippets because
Yeah.
you're basically following the main character, and this is just a side character friend who something tragic happens to her.
Sure, yeah.
I would have loved a book dedicated to whatever this woman went through because it is infinitely more tragic and new and fun. I say fun like loosely as, you know,
but as a plot idea,
it's infinitely more interesting than Lady Gets Married to Jesus.
That's how I feel about
infinitely more interesting.
Nefertiti by Michelle Moran, because she tells it from the perspective of the quiet, subtle sister. And Nefertiti, however, is not only the chosen wife of the most infamous pharaoh of all of Egyptian history, but she also is like one of the earliest confirmed like powerful queens of Egypt, because we have a bust of her head.
Right.
Like, so it's like you chose to tell it from the perspective of her sister. Why?
I mean,
who knows?
So then, you know.
Who knows? So, yeah.
Meanwhile, speaking of fanfiction, I'm also reading fanfiction because I'm being obsessed with House of the Dragon for, like, no reason other than the fact that Ewan Mitchell exists as Aemon Targaryen.
So you are watching House of the Dragon. That's on your watch list.
It's Aemon Targaryen's fault. Actually, it's Ewan Mitchell's fault for being Aemon Targaryen. Like, that's it.
I've heard much about season 2, actually. That's
as an actor, I'm very interested to see where he goes.
Yeah,
after this, because he did some stuff beforehand. He was in Last Kingdom. He was like one of the characters in Last Kingdom. Mm-hmm. He was also in Saltburn. Like,
that's right. He was the throwaway character in Saltburn.
I was trying to figure out who he was in Saltburn.
He was the kid with glasses. Mm-hmm. He was like so he was Barry Keoghan's like actual friend who you see for like 5 seconds. Yeah. Right. And then he goes off with the rich people and you never see this kid again.
He's also, you know, he was in a couple other things as well. I think he was like in a World War like 1 or World War 2 like
that sounds familiar.
It was really interesting. So like, you know, it's his fault now that I'm reading the fanfiction of his character, but that's fine.
Sure. I love that there's House of the Dragon fanfiction.
Let's see how many there actually are. Hold on. I can tell you how many. I was also reading House of the Dragon fanfiction because I like AUs, so I like to take things and I like to spin on their head and see how other people also think of things. By the way, there are 22,885 different fanfictions for House of the Dragon at the moment. Yeah. However, if you include everything in A Song of Ice and Fire and related fandoms, that then becomes 98,794 pieces of fanfiction.
Of course, yes.
That is on AO3 alone. That is not including Wattpad and or fanfiction.net.
Right.
Or LiveJournal or Tumblr or wherever you get your fanfiction from.
You could fill up a few ADLs with that.
Yeah.
I mean, just a few.
So, you know, reading those, I'm very entertained because I love just like random inserts into the thing where the character just follows along and some things are different and some things are the same and it just depends on what's going on.
Have you seen, there's a video that I saw the other day. I didn't turn the sound on because it wasn't needed.
That's fair.
It was literally comparing shots from Shrek to shots from House of the Dragon, and I was just floored because I thought, okay, but there is a case here. Like, most of the time, the internet's just wrong.
No, so there's also a thing where right now one of the characters, Damon, so that's Matt Smith's character, is in Harrenhal, and Harrenhal is notoriously haunted. Mm-hmm. And so right now he is like hallucinating. Like, it is a whole thing. There's a lot that needs to be unpacked there. Spoiler alerts. Meanwhile, TikTok is making fun of him because they're calling this his midlife crisis. And they're calling this his Luigi's Mansion era. And it just makes so much sense. Like, it works so well.
That's hilarious.
Meanwhile, game-wise, Sims 4 has a new expansion pack coming out on Thursday. I bought it already.
Nice.
I'm just waiting for it to come in.
Yeah.
They should have an update later. Like, at around this time, there's an update that just dropped on Tuesday for, like, a base game update. Right now I'm playing with... I have a vampire family going on.
Oh,
the vampire family it was a character that I accidentally made through a completely separate legacy, and I was like, I want to follow her instead of following her parents around for a while. So I nixed the parents, made her a child, and turned around and gave her a whole new family.
Well, I mean, you know, why not?
So I'm doing that right now, and they all live in the same house, and she's turned her best friend into a vampire so far.
Good. Yeah.
He's cool.
That seems practical.
And then she has 2 other friends who I'm waiting for them to age up, and she's also going to turn them.
Nice.
And they are all going to be living in a penthouse in the city together, doing the most stupid... I say the city together because this is just Sims in general. San Myshuno, which is the city, world in The Sims has a lot more people around, so it makes it easier for the vampires to find people to ask to drink from.
Yes.
And my character Olivia is very, very guilty. So if she compels you into drinking from you, she gets really guilty and sad about it. So she has to make friends with you first and ask before she feels comfortable doing so. Meanwhile, her two brothers, one is her twin Cornelius, and the other one is her older brother Leighton. Leighton is evil incarnate. I'm not kidding. He's mean and evil and erratic, and it's just nuts for him.
Yeah.
He has no qualms finding people and ripping their hearts out of their face because he can.
Out of their face?
Yeah. This is also from a mod that you can do because you typically can't do that, so it's a mod.
Sure.
But he has no qualms about doing that. I sent my friend a text message the other day because her dad was out and, hilariously enough, drank from her best friend. This is before she became best friends with him and everything else. He passed out on the floor, and this is outside in the street. The man pulls out a guitar and starts playing guitar.
Oh my. Wow.
So this is the chaos that I'm dealing with at the moment.
Sure.
People react differently to stress.
I texted it to my
Apparently
friend.
you turned this character to Sufjan Stevens. Just
Meanwhile, Cornelius is just running around just going like, I just want to make viruses and take over the world via programming, and it's hilarious. And Olivia's just like, you guys are nuts. I'm just going to sit here and knit. I'm good.
Yeah, right.
So she's just knitting over in the corner.
People
and
react
there's
to
just
stress
mass
in
chaos.
different ways. It's fine.
Rowan, who's the best friend, meanwhile, is sitting there. He just moved in. Both of his grandparents, who he lived with as a teen, have perished.
Oh,
So he is in the house, and he's staring at everyone just going, what? Because he has no idea. So, that is my Sim save right now.
Nice.
Meanwhile, I'll probably have to pause that while the game updates, because...
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're doing. Playing, reading, watching. Tony! Go!
I will start with what I'm playing because it will shock no one. I decided because I'm...
Gotham Knights or Jedi Fallen Soldier.
Yeah, I'm an obsessive. But what I decided to do, because I was curious about the link between the four games, the link is obvious. I wasn't really all that curious. I just wanted to play them all together. So I started with The Force Unleashed, the classic Xbox 360 game. And then I played that and the sequel. Sequel is way better. It's just more fun.
What console did you originally play the first Force Unleashed on?
I believe it was the 360.
360,
I think
okay.
that's what I played it on. I think it was available for PlayStation as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I played it originally on Xbox 360.
It was the Wii for me.
Oh,
I love that with the
really
force powers and everything. But
sure, yeah, I bet, yeah. So then so Force Unleashed 2 is just better. It's also shorter because it's 4 long, sort of.
Oh my god, it was also for Nintendo DS. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've tried playing Force Unleashed on the Switch, and I will never do that again. It's just way too hard.
Ew, that's disgusting. Okay. Anyways,
But, so I played the 2 Force Unleashes, and now I am playing Fallen Order, and I've gotten to my least favorite part of the game.
is it spiders?
Well, there's a spider in this part that you fight, or a couple of them. But actually, I don't mind fighting
this
them
is
in this.
Fallen Order, right?
This is Fallen Order.
Is this the secret one that you kind of don't really realize is there until you get there?
It's the stupid Haxian Brood thing, yeah.
It's the, albino one?
No, not that one. No, not that one.
Oh, the Haxian Brood one.
This is the Haxian Brood mission where basically you finally have force push and pull, and they kidnap you.
Yeah,
and then you have to fight your way out of this arena, and there's a spider in the arena.
Oh, that one. Yeah. No, there's also a big giant albino spider, which is technically
There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
On Kashyyyk. So there's one that's fairly obvious if you know, which I did not the first time I did it. And
then there's the secret one.
And then there's a secret one that you really should know if you know these kinds of games and you go off exploring.
Yep, that's how I found
on a planet where there are already giant spiders. You're kind of asking for it.
So I didn't get to the basic spider first, the original one. I got the albino spider.
You got the big one. Because they're both albino spiders, but the first one is I didn't realize this until watching one of those. There's a guy called Joe Hammer Gaming. Shout out to Joe Hammer Gaming on YouTube.
Oh, I love Joe Hammer.
Yeah, he's great. I watch him all the time when I'm stuck. So, so he takes you through both, and he's like, here's how you avoid the first one. So I avoided the first one thanks to him, thankfully. But he was like, he's like, I'm going to go ahead and fight the spider, because he had the double-bladed lightsaber. So he goes and fights the spider, and he goes, oh, and by the way, this one isn't nearly as big as the second one. And I was like, nope.
Yeah, no,
absolutely not.
I got the second one first by accident.
Ooh, I think I remember you telling me that when you were playing.
I was unprepared, but I still stuck through it.
Yeah, honestly, if you've, like, the thing that I've discovered having played Jedi Survivor so often is that, like, once you've gotten used to the groove of block and parry, any monster is doable. Like, you can fight and kill them all no matter what level you're at, because it's a matter of blocking and parrying and then striking. Like, that's how you figure out what their moves are.
It's like that with a lot of Souls-like games, too, I'm noticing.
Didn't it take a lot of inspiration from Souls-like games? Or
not sure.
It's hard to... That's the thing that's hard.
I haven't played it. I've only heard
It's hard to tell about those two games, like Fallen Order and Survivor, because it feels to me like Fallen Order was, like, scared of itself.
It didn't want
almost
to touch
like
it yet.
Like, in a sense, they are pulling... Okay, so one of the things that they're pulling from as a short brief, they are trying to force the experience of being a Jedi Padawan on the run during the Purge. Like, so they really limit your Force abilities in that first game, because
he doesn't have those abilities.
He just doesn't have them. He's locked out of the Force, and so that's one way you level up throughout the game.
He's also traumatized from it,
and he's
and so Cal is trying to, like, turn around and hide all of that. Not only is he a scrapper trying to hide,
right,
but he's also internally, like, locked all of that away inside. Not only because he's traumatized because he watched his, like, Jedi Master, like, die, but at the same time he's locked it away because he feels like if he brings that out, people are going to notice, and then it's going to be a whole entire problem. So he's purposefully locked that away.
And it's out of, like, control.
Survival.
Yeah,
like,
it's out
necessity.
of survival, but he also, he feels like he's not in control of it anymore because, well, his link, his master, is gone.
And so he's trying, and so as you level up in the game, you're unlocking those parts because he's coming back into it. He's, like, relearning, okay, so if I do this, it's okay if I'm, like, going up against the Siths at the moment. It's okay that, like, I'm relearning all these things.
Yeah,
so
I mean, the story, it really builds really well. I just still think that, like, especially after you've played them one after the other, like, Fallen Order and Survivor, what Survivor does is it goes, okay, cool, we survived Fallen Order, people bought it, and they don't hate us. Now let's fix everything that was broken with it. Let's take they literally took the complaint about the puzzles seriously.
Yes.
Because in Fallen Order, there are puzzles that, oh my god, they are so painful and annoying and not intuitive. Annoying. Like, they're stupid long, and they're unnecessary. Like, they don't actually teach you much of anything. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Survivor, there are no puzzles. At all.
No.
You can explore. Like, for example, my most recent time playing Survivor, I randomly went into this cave that I was like, I don't remember this cave. And then at the end of the cave, there was a Rancor.
Is it that one?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I stumbled upon that by accident.
I have played Jedi Survivor 8 times since it came out, and that was the first time I accidentally stumbled across a Rancor.
So
it's brilliant.
The first time you stumble across that cave, I stumbled across it. Like, not stumbled across the cave, but the first time you explored it, I found him by accident.
Yeah, me too.
And I was locked in at that point because every time I died, it brought me right back to that spot.
Oh, no.
So I was stuck, and so I had to relearn. I had to learn on the spot
how to fight the Rancor.
Beat the Rancor.
Yes.
So, like, because I couldn't leave. Like, I was stuck there.
Yeah, right there. The Rancor, it's fun. It's just, if you don't know, it can be really frustrating. You're like, wait, what's going on? But that's the thing. Like, Survivor is just way more intuitive, and it just honestly is a really well-designed game. Every time I play it, I think that. Every time I play Fallen Order, I'm like, why can't I do... Oh, right, because I'm not playing Survivor. This is dumb. Yeah. But also, the way in which they take the character and, like, grow him up is really, really interesting Star Wars storytelling. But also, they answer a really pivotal question that I would not have thought to ask, except this is what the game is about. They answer the question of what happened to all the Jedi librarians.
Oh.
Because there is one. I mean, Jocasta is the librarian because she tells Obi-Wan there's no such planet, and if we don't have it, then it don't exist, apparently. So, it takes all those librarians and anthropologists and makes them, the centerpiece of the games, which is really fun. So yes, I'm playing Fallen Order. Survivor will be next because, of course, I am. That was supposed to be really short, but it wasn't.
And we got
I'm going to
distracted.
try to make these two things short. So I just finished... we're moving into television now, things I'm watching. So I just finished season 1 of The Bear.
Ooh. With the basic white boy, the month Jeremy Allen White.
It is so good. It is so good. I don't know that it's as good as everyone thinks it is. I will say that. I mean, it is brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I can say flat out, I've seen better television. Not much, but I've seen better television. So I'm interested to see what season 2 does that really brought that hype all the way up because, it's lasted. Season 3 has gotten some interestingly mixed reviews, which doesn't surprise me because season 3 of television shows these days tends to get that kind of review because people want the same thing over and over again and they don't like the stories have to grow, so they get crabby and they're like, this is, whatever. And yet they still watch Grey's Anatomy for 27 seasons. Anyway, that shade aside, the other thing that I just finished watching that I need to rewatch it now that I've seen it all the way through. I just finished The Acolyte last week. I was a few episodes behind.
TikTok girlers are going nuts over that one.
I will say this. The most interesting character is the Sith.
Yeah.
Period. Flat out. The other most interesting character is Jedi Master Soul, who the actor said that he studied Qui-Gon. Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon in order to reprise the role. And I'm like, yeah, you would have had to because the writers literally took an expanded universe story about Qui-Gon's first apprentice before he got Obi-Wan and just put it in The Acolyte. It's literally what they did. Like, it's exactly the same, even down to the way that the Sith dresses, like the particular robes that he wears. It's identical. He's hot, which is nice, but that's not a reason to love the show. Honestly, the show is very uneven. The first few episodes don't know what to do with any of the characters. All of the motivations are all over the place. The twin thing, I still don't understand. Why was it necessary? Who needed it? What's the big deal? But apart from all of those rather bizarre questions about the story, it does okay. It ends well. The finale episode had me kind of like, and they're clearly setting you up for a season 2 in the cheapest way possible because that is one thing the show kind of does. But unlike other Star Wars properties, it doesn't wear that cheapness on its sleeves, right? Mm-hmm. It tries to make you think that it's very serious. But it's cheap.
Does it try to pull an Andor, almost? Or, try to appeal to...
No, it doesn't do that like Season 3 of The Mandalorian did, which actually improved to Season 3 of The Mandalorian because he shot for a higher ceiling because Andor had just come out. So I appreciate Favreau for doing that. But it just doesn't... The Acolyte doesn't respect its adult audience. I was saying recently to somebody that, the thing about Star Wars that we all have to remember is that it wasn't designed for people to grow up and become 30-year-olds watching Star Wars. No. It was meant for 12-year-olds, and 12-year-olds watch stupid stuff all the time, and they love it because that's their first stories. They're obsessed, right? So that is one thing that I feel like The Acolyte is perfect for someone who's 12 and never encountered Star Wars or doesn't have a deep knowledge of the lore. For those of us who've been around for a while, it's kind of like... That's it? That's all you could do? This is the exciting new Star Wars? Okay, whatever. So, watch it on your own. I just was kind of meh about it. And as far as what I'm reading, this will be quick. I keep saying that.
You need to rush.
So I haven't started this book quite yet, but I have it from Mel now, so I'm going to start it as soon as I have time. It's called Brotherhood of Kings, How International Relations Shaped the Ancient Near East. Ooh. It's by Amanda H. Podeny. I think I'm saying that correctly. I'm not sure. Published through the Oxford University Press. Dr. Podeny actually did a really fascinating interview on this podcast that I've been listening to called The Ancients. It's wonderful, where she talks about this Brotherhood of Kings that existed. The Hittite Empire, the Egyptian Empire, and the Babylonian, we'll call it Babylonian for lack of a better word because it was always changing, empire, at their height in the Bronze Age were communicating with each other and intermarrying. Mm-hmm. So they have this incredible wealth. We have this incredible wealth of information from those times because of this Brotherhood of Kings, and we may not have had that without them, right? So what's fascinating is that they literally, in all of their correspondence, refer to each other as brothers, but it is also one of the reasons that, like, cuneiform is found in the entire, like, swath of area that covers.
Yes.
Because they literally, like, the scribes would learn as they received things from these different kings, and so that's, you know, one of the reasons that language spread all over. But it's a really fascinating, like, realization about the ancient Near East, and I'm excited to read the book to get into all of the details, because it's such a cool, you know, reality. I was going to say idea, but it really happened, so I just want to sort of dig around and see how it happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, that's where we are. All right, I have a question.
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Oh no.
Could you tell us what book you had us choose,
Okay.
or that you chose
For this episode?
This episode?
All right. Well, uncage the colors, unfurl the flag. We're in the Navy, boys. We're reading Billy Budd, Sailor by Herman Melville.
Okay.
Not including the original subtitle, Billy Budd, Sailor, an interior story, I think, or an interior tale. I can't remember. Like, it's an inside account.
Sure. Oh, okay. Sure.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So,
Yes.
second question.
Okay.
Oh no.
Why?
Because I like it. And I like
Oh,
I
okay.
like Melville.
Oh, that's much simpler than I thought it was going to
I
be.
find
Good.
him very interesting.
Sure.
And there's just so much to dive in, like on a paragraph to paragraph basis with Melville.
Interesting. Sure. Okay.
I just in this story in particular, I know we set up this kind of round for Pride Month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this book has been interpreted. It's been interpreted in multiple ways.
Yes.
Sure.
One of which is a queer interpretation, which we can.
To me, seems rather obvious.
It's
Well,
there.
yes,
yeah.
It is
Yeah.
so there.
Yes. I'll give air to other. I mean, it's about a lot of stuff. It's about a lot of stuff.
Yes.
It's about order versus nature. It's about
Which is very Melville
religion.
anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is yeah. That goes along with like his relationship with like the Romantics and stuff. You know, they were very man versus nature, natural versus artificial and stuff. And he touches on that a lot, and I feel like he definitely touches on that in Billy Budd.
Yeah.
And I'll probably try to draw some comparisons between this and another short story of his, Bartleby.
Oh, the Scrivener?
Scrivener.
Yeah.
Because I noticed some similarities. Like,
Interesting.
not
Such
some-
as.
Such as as they both involve a character introduced into a strict, isolated system who does not fit into the system, and then the system proceeds to destroy them in some way. That's the main.
That's fascinating. Okay.
That's the main thing. And there are some slight similarities between Bartleby and Billy Budd.
Yeah.
There's an innocence to both of them that gets them in trouble, I think, or maybe more so with Bartleby, like naivete isn't the right word, but just I don't know. He's an idealist.
Sure.
In a weird way.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. So I can get into all that, but I guess I'll ask you guys. What did you guys think about?
I just told Grant earlier, just before we started, that I felt like this was Mean Girls but gay and in the Navy.
You know, that is.
I like that comparison.
That is an apt description. Yeah, this is not at all how I would have described it, but yeah, that is an apt. Yeah.
Because you have Billy, who's basically like sitting there and he's just like enjoying life. He's like, I'm on a boat.
He's more
It's
of a
fun.
symbol than a person.
He's just, I'm there. It's fun. I like it here. And then all of a sudden, like, everyone's like, yeah, he's really pretty. He's really handsome. We're going to call him Handsome Billy. Like, it's like a whole thing. Beautiful Billy. I don't remember what it was.
I think they called him Baby Billy or something.
Sure.
Oh, they called him multiple things.
They call him
so
so
many
much
things.
stuff. And he's just sitting there, and I'm just like, okay, so you are, like, the designated, like, pretty boy of the ship. I was going to say another one. I'm like...
I was going to bring it up, because that's what you call him.
I called him the designated twink of the ship.
Well, look.
And it's just there.
Frankly,
It's there.
yes.
If you look through history, every great ship, every great ill-fated
one
ship
of them.
has a boat twink. Titanic, boat twink. Lusitania, boat twink. Yes. Sorry.
Boat Twink.
No, but that's basically what he
I want
is,
to
right?
start a boy band called it Boat Twink.
Yes, I support
But
you.
that's what he is, right?
Yeah.
And so he's sitting there and he's just enjoying life. And then you have, what is his name? Calgare?
Clegger.
Clegger? Sure. That's his name. I read this in like one sitting a couple
He's
hours
the
ago.
one that's described as like sort of nefarious, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
although you
He's
never
also the
really
master-
get 100% like into his head.
No.
Right.
He's like
yes.
there, he's the master at arms, he's fine, it's okay, but like at the same time, he gives me like Regina George vibes. And he's just there, and he's just like, and you see it in like two chapters worth of him just going, man, Billy is so pretty. I hate him. He's so pretty though.
He's-
And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Now, he's the one that is being described at one point as having the sort of like. The word lascivious is not used because it would have been too obvious, but there's at one point Melville is doing all these overtures to describe the, the twisted nature of this man. Is he the one that he's
Yes.
describing?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because that was the point. Because I'm listening to this on audiobook, and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, other than the sailors, I just don't know why this would be chosen as a gay book. I mean, Melville's gay, but this isn't Moby Dick.
No,
and then
no.
suddenly that description starts happening, and I went, and from that point on,
And
it gets doubled down on.
Yes,
But if
the
you sit
locus
there-
is the obsession between him and
Yeah, because he's got it. He's like, I literally said this earlier. I'm like, it's just basically like, remember how in Song of Achilles, Patroclus, sure, whatever you want to
is
call it,
always sort of like
is basically has a big sign above his head that says "Notice me, senpai." And
I like to call him Sympocles.
simply,
Sympacles.
sure. But he's got the giant sign and he's like, "Notice me, senpai." But
Yeah.
at the same time, he's also just like, "Oh, Achilles." It's the same thing with Clegger, but it's more nefarious.
But it's darker, yeah.
Because it's darker. Because he's sitting there and he's like, "Oh, Billy's so pretty. I love him. He's so great." But at the same time, in the same breath of air, he goes, "But I hate him. Like, I want him dead. I don't want him here. He's ugly." And I'm like, are you two competing for, like, the opportunity to be, like, the prettiest one on the ship? Are you the prettiest girl at the party? Like, is this what we're doing? And then they turn around and I'm like, it's the Navy, so of course,
things are gonna happen.
things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
Listen, I read this specifically because I was just waiting for somebody to get punched in the face because I wanted Clegger to get punched in the face. He does.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Like, I specifically read that early because I was reading a summary and I went, oh, he gets punched in the face? Great! And so I just continued reading it because you want to know why? I wanted to see him get punched in the face. That was
Not only does he get punched in the face,
he also gets unalived.
He gets punched in the
From
face.
the punch in the
Well,
face.
you know.
From the punch in the face. In the
Yeah.
forehead.
I think One Punch Man may owe the Melville estate some. Yeah.
No, but
funny.
there is so much like homoerotic subtext just like hiding in there.
Well, it's not even hiding. That's the
It's
problem.
just
Is that
there.
like
This could be another reason why it was unpublished at his time of death.
probably
as well, because
yeah.
of how. What's the opposite of subtext? Text? How textual it is.
Yeah,
Textual.
it's very textual. Yeah, it's
Or
context. Yeah, context. I mean, he layers in all the context. I guess I'm wondering because was this written before Moby Dick?
That I should know. I do not know.
Okay.
I will. Aaron can look that up if that's okay with Aaron, really quick. Thank you, Aaron.
Because I can't.
Um,
It's interesting. Yeah.
I want to say afterwards because Moby Dick is really when he branched out into like his true Melvillian style. I think, like,
Sure,
where
yeah.
everything is a diatribe, everything is about something else.
Right, but I feel like Billy Budd is literally like it feels like a template for that kind of style because it does that too. Which is the only reason that you can...
Moby Dick was written first. Billy Budd was... This is according to Wiki, which also was being... which also has, like, actual, like, articles connected to it, so I know that this is actually factual.
Yeah.
And the listeners should know that it wasn't... that it was technically unfinished at the time.
Yeah, so he began working on the novella in 1886. But when he died in 1891, this was left unfinished. It never got finished. And then... in 1924, they did like a hastily transcribed version of it, and that is when it got published back in 1924.
Yeah, it feels...
So this was printed posthumously, and it does feel unfinished.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels unfinished pretty much throughout, I would say. It feels like...
In some ways, I feel like that makes it almost more interesting for me. Like,
sure.
It, though, in certain ways. Yes, continue.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's certainly like, you know what? It feels like someone is just someone that I know is struggling with what to do with the book, and has been talking about it, and I say, all right, just give me the book and let me read it, and then I'll let you know what I think. That's what it feels like. It feels like. Not quite a first draft, not quite a like, I sat down and
I've handed you an excerpt from something that I'm writing.
Yeah, it feels more of like, here's this chunk that I've done, I don't know what to do with the rest of it kind of thing, and then I'm reading it that way.
Yeah, and it's nowhere near as tight or is like a story like Bartleby.
Yeah.
You know, which feels very much... I mean, it's Melville, so it's going to have digressions and stuff, but it feels very... lean, you know?
It is very lean, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I just sometimes wonder if he had lived long enough to get to
finish this,
the end, and then read back over it. I feel like he would have wanted to unpack a lot of things. And we might have had a second Moby Dick on our hands.
True.
I will say I liked the style of this only because so, like, at the end, like, basically, like, you know, like, Billy's kind of, like, made into, like, a legend. Like, it's, like, his whole thing. It feels, and like, I didn't notice it till the end why it made so much sense to me. But basically, at the beginning, it feels like, as it's described, it feels like you're sitting in a tavern, and this is being told to you as, like, a sea shanty kind of thing. Like,
and starting with Moby Dick, almost all of his stories are told through some intermediary, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this just feels like I am in a tavern, and I have some people who are next to me going, like, have you heard the legend of Billy Budd? Like, have you heard of him? Like, and you're like, no, I've never heard of him. What happened? And they just start going, and it leads into a whole entire tale.
Sorry.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the end of the story concludes with a shanty that is written about Billy.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think it was, right?
It was
Am
a
I
poem,
correct?
I think.
Oh, poem, okay.
Well,
But
what is a shanty but a poem?
I'm like, you could turn that into a sea shanty anyways.
I wonder if someone has. I imagine someone probably has, right?
It was turned, Billy Budd has been turned adapted, key point, into both a film, a stage play, and an opera.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's an interesting choice.
There's the film Billy Budd, which is a straight adaptation, like a direct adaptation, and then Beau Travail, which is a French film that came out later and is loosely adapted.
Yes, which I'm hoping to watch tonight.
Ooh,
yes.
I watched it last night in preparation, but
then
I remembered how little it has to do with Billy Budd beyond like the mythological structure of Billy Budd.
Sure,
you know.
Yeah,
but it's a fantastic movie on its own, so hopefully you get to see it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know. I feel like so. This book reminds me that I struggle with the early American writers when they start writing in long form. They're brilliant short story writers, which is one of the reasons more people have read Poe than they've read any of the others, because that's what he did. He did one novel, but nobody reads it except academics.
What's his novel again?
Arthur Nym, I think. Yeah, the something of Arthur Nym. Nym spelled Nym. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was also unfinished when he died. So, you know, Poe, sure, he wrote a novel, but
the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket.
That's it. Yes, there it is. Yes, I knew Nantucket was in there somewhere.
The only complete novel ever written by Edgar Allan Poe in 1838.
Was it complete? Okay,
Because
that's
he
interesting.
wrote
I
like
thought
the
it wasn't,
Mutiny of
but-
something, right? And that was like almost a novel. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Anyways,
something like that. But yeah, so Poe. One of the reasons I think Poe is remembered amongst those early American writers is because he stuck to short fiction and he meant to. But I think the other reason that he's remembered is because he did something that the rest of them. He actually achieved something that the rest of them either tried and failed,
Popular success.
or that. But actually, Hawthorne was
True. Yeah, Hawthorne.
really highly valued. The problem with both Hawthorne and Melville that I have found, at least in my reading of them, and I have not yet read Alcott, so she may not suffer from this. But the problem that the thing that the two of them suffer from is that you can tell that they're still in love with European novels. And they don't yet know how to disrupt that or to define for themselves what that means. Like to be a truly American novelist. Like for them, it was a goal for all of them. Like that was their whole purpose, and they all talked about it or wrote about it in some way, shape, or form. But I feel like Poe is really the earliest achiever of that goal. He really, for one thing, he invented detective fiction.
True.
Which is the stories are unreadable in my view. The 4 little stories that he wrote that were mystery.
I like his poetry better than
His poetry is excellent. I feel like his horror stories, for lack of a better term, I think they're quite good, depending on which ones that you read. Like Fall of the House of Usher is a slog, but getting to the end is so satisfying that you don't even care how much of a slog it was. Like it's fantastic. Cask of Amontillado is genius.
I would say that is like my favorite one.
Yeah, it's
Mask
so
of the Red
good.
Death is pretty fun too.
Yeah, I could never make it through Mask of the Red Death, so I need to try that one again. But yeah, so that's the thing. Is like Poe. I think Poe really did achieve in a handful of his stories. He really achieved an American sensibility that we've not really lost. I mean, Stephen King is a direct descendant of what happens if you just grow up reading Poe and Lovecraft. That's just, you get a Stephen King.
Also drugs.
I would throw Walt Whitman in there as far as like forming a unique American voice. I feel like he had
certainly, yeah.
Walt Whitman,
and particularly
but
I know he did poetry
Yeah,
because I read all of his Civil War poetry stuff.
No, I feel like
particularly
he had a
as a poet, he really. But I feel like the first. So I would say that like Poe in the short form. I've not read Henry James enough to really make this claim, but it's so much of a claim that Henry James is often like marked as like one of the first truly American novelists because 1, he has so many of them, but 2, he really was like, in terms of form, he was pushing against the European form all the time. Whereas I feel like Melville and Hawthorne, they talked about it in their essays, but neither one of them really tried to break free of the. They're not Dickensian, but they're still playing with those European modes and ideas and thoughts.
They're in a transitory period almost.
Yeah.
A transition period.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. It just makes me deeply uncomfortable to read them most of the time because I'm just like the language is so laborious and it's like, oh my god, shut up.
No, you either like it or you don't. I like it, and a lot of people don't.
Which is fun. Yeah, exactly.
I'm usually in the middle, and it just depends on what the actual what the actual book is.
Which is so interesting because I don't have that problem with Shakespeare or Dickens at all.
And Melville was highly, highly inspired by Shakespeare in his writing. Mostly,
yes, you can tell.
Yeah,
you can really tell. Like and it's sad. It feels harsh to say, but it is sad that he sort of feels like a copycat Shakespeare. It's like, oh, you sat with your folio right next to you when you wrote, didn't you? Yeah, you know what I mean?
I think Melville was most revolutionary in the way that Moby Dick and some of his other stuff was. It's almost collage-esque in structure and style. Because, like, when you read... Have you read Moby Dick? I can't remember.
No.
I have not yet. It is on my list of things to get to.
It's big.
It is rather big.
It is a very big book, yeah.
Last time I dedicated myself to such a big brick, it was Les Mis, and I never again. Never again.
Well, luckily Moby Dick doesn't have any chapters on the Napoleonic Wars.
Oh no, it wasn't even the Napoleonic Wars.
Okay.
It's the Parisian sewers.
The Parisian sewers. Okay.
Well,
yes. There are many chapters on the specifics of whale hunting.
I was going to say, to exchange that for whale hunting, and it's about the same thing. The thing
At least it's
about
relevant to the plot.
the thing about Melville that is interesting, I think, that's singular, still to this day, he put America on the page in a way that no one else had, and no one else would until Mark Twain with Huckleberry Finn, which is he immediately in Moby Dick, from Call Me Ishmael, recognizes that this place at that time had lots of people of different cultures working together, and there's no place more evident than that than a whaling ship.
And he knew that firsthand because he was educated on whaling ships and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so like the fact that because the other writers do it, so there's an excellent book that everyone should read even if you haven't read the source text, but because we've all been educated in American, poorly, but still in the early American writers. There's a book called Playing in the Dark by Toni Morrison. It's a collection of essays and talks that she gave at the University of Michigan.
Oh, there it is.
And she basically says this thing that I'm about to say, which is the early American writers were writing about slavery and black people in this country, but they were doing it in a way that was acceptable or deemed acceptable because they couldn't face it head on. Mm-hmm. They couldn't just have a whole bunch of slaves in the background. No.
They psychologically couldn't face it head on.
Exactly. So what they do with it psychologically is all these shadows everywhere, darkness. Hawthorne is famous for putting his characters through things and going, but they went into the woods and they emerged, darker than they were before. There's what is that stupid story in which I think it's Goodman Brown. Yeah, it's Goodman Brown. I hate that story because it's basically about this guy who's gonna get married, and his fiance is leaving on a trip, and then when she comes back, they're gonna get married. And on the way to where she's going, she passes through the woods where all kinds of devil, and so he details the satanic ritual, basically, and she, by attending the satanic ritual, becomes deflowered in her pink ribbon. This is all this, just symbolism all over the place because, it's Hawthorne. And then at the end of it, she emerges from the woods, stained. And it just, the more you read it, the more you're like, yeah, you're just writing about people who aren't English, doing things that aren't English. In a location, the woods. There's even a blatant reprehensible Native American character who has no name, but is basically saying like this character and all his ilk are in league with the devil, and you're just like, really? And but this is the kind of thing, like all of these symbols this is how they were writing about them. Melville's the only one who not only does he create characters of color, Ishmael goes to bed with a man of color.
In chapter 3.
Yes, yeah. So he
and the ship in Moby Dick, a lot of people see as like a microcosm of the new country of America.
Absolutely, yes, and I believe that was intentional. It was certainly purposeful, but it was, Melville is one of those deep thinkers when he's writing novels. So Yeah,
and yeah, sorry, continue.
No, that's all. That's really all. I think that's why he stands out. He's very significant in that way, to me, anyway.
Yeah, no, I definitely see him in Whitman in a similar fashion as that they're just a font of vital creativity that even in Melville's tighter, actually finished stuff, you get the feeling of something barely being contained.
Yeah.
Almost. And I feel like you especially feel that in Billy Budd, mostly because it's not finished, and so you get even more of that. Mm-hmm. And I really like that aspect of Melville's style, and I feel like there's some really profound stuff every once in a while. So.
Definitely. And it's something that's really relegated to one genre now these days. No one writes first of all, no one writes anything uncontainable unless you're literally Brandon Sanderson like that.
Because how do you market something that can't be contained?
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest problems with American fiction right now. It's one of the biggest problems we're facing is that everyone wants something that can be explained in the length of a TikTok video. Literally.
We're just writing to tropes right now, and it's kind of boring.
But that's why people are writing to tropes. It's because, that's we're literally stealing from television. Television did that first. Well, and plays and scripts and all those things. The novel literally was invented because you could not explain what the thing was. The French looked at it and said, this is nouvelle, it is new. Because it was. Now we've gotten to the point where novels are so, I refer to them as anemic, because they are. They're just, so easy to describe what this thing is about. And so you don't even have to read it. It's like, oh, okay, so how did you feel about this thing that you just described to me? Oh, it was meant, okay, good, well, I don't have to read it, because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be surprised, you know what I mean?
And the rules and guidelines of literature have become calcified over the years, and people don't even think to question things.
Yeah.
That's the same with any art form or really anything.
It's true. Yeah, but I would say it's a particularly American fiction problem. If you read fiction from other countries, less the UK, but even if it's not famous in the UK, you can still have that quality of this book feels too big to be contained in these 800 pages.
I feel like this should be a whole other episode.
Yes, it should.
It really should. So maybe let's talk about that later.